welcome to another episode of Classic Chrome. I'm your host, Dave. For many years, auto manufacturers have tried to develop other ways of powering their vehicles. Back in the 1950s, Ford had tried to develop a nuclear-powered car, and in 1964, Chrysler had touted their turbine car design. But it wasn't until 1997 that Japanese auto manufacturer Toyota began marketing their first hybrid car, the Toyota Prius. Well, about 100 years prior to this, independent auto manufacturer Stanley had developed a car that ran on steam. Simply heat up some water and drive off. Well, it wasn't exactly that easy. You'll see what I mean when we take a look at this beautiful, historic 1911 Stanley Steamer. We spotted this 1911 Stanley Steamer Model 62 Runabout at the Hockessin Car Show back in September of 2024. Stanley Steamers were automobiles that were powered with steam rather than the more conventional internal combustion engine. A 15 to 30 gallon tank would be filled with water, then heated with either vaporized gasoline or kerosene. Steam would then push pistons that would turn the crankshaft, which powered the car. The startup procedure would take roughly up to 20 minutes. And the owner could then travel for up to 35 to 45 miles. Although the car was touted as running on water and not gas, early boilers did in fact use vaporizing gasoline and were later switched to kerosene. The Stanley Motor Carriage Company was founded by twin brothers Francis Stanley and Freelan Stanley, who produced these cars from 1902 until 1924. The brothers originally made their first car in 1897, and by 1898 and 1899, they had produced and sold over 200 cars, which was more than any other U.S. automaker of the time. The Stanleys later sold the rights of their early design to another auto manufacturer of the era, Locomotive, before forming their own automobile company in 1902. Early Stanley cars had fire tube boilers that were actually mounted beneath the seat. They were later moved to the front of the vehicle during styling changes that were made between 1905 and 1907. Driver Fred Marriot would set a world record in a Stanley Steamer in 1906 for driving the fastest mile in 28.2 seconds and reaching a top speed of 127 miles per hour. Despite this, trouble was looming ahead for the company, as the mid to late 1910s saw advancements in both the internal combustion engine and the electric starter. Additionally, by 1924, prices for some Stanley Steamer models had reached upwards of $3,500, while Ford's Model T had only cost buyers a mere $500. The final blow to Stanley came in 1918, when co-founder Francis Stanley was killed in a car accident. This was devastating news to Freelan Stanley, to the point that he sold off the rest of his remaining interests in the company, and by 1924, the Stanley Motor Carriage Company had permanently closed. The Stanley Steamer was a unique car at a time when the industrial age was at its infancy. Perhaps, if there had been further development in steam technology, the company may have lasted a little longer, and perhaps even stood the test of time. Although we'll never know the answer to this, we do know that beautiful examples are still out there today, and we are so glad to have been given the opportunity to see such an innovative piece of automotive history. It's interesting to note that that car was actually still tagged and was driven to that car show and not trailered. Not bad for a car that's almost 115 years old. Hey, if you like looking at other cars like this, why not check me out on Classic Chrome with Dave? Classic Chrome with Dave is a YouTube channel where we celebrate the history of the automobile. So log on now. Check out Classic Chrome with Dave. Don't forget to click like and subscribe and share the link with friends. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Hey, as always, I had a great time with you guys. Thank you for watching. In the meantime, I'm Dave. Peace, and keep the classics alive.